Hey guys, welcome back to releasethecraftin. Priscilla here for day 5. Can you believe it? We have hit day 5 of the Season of the Witch challenge. That's hashtag rtcseason if you want to follow along. There's also a playlist. It's all linked in the description below. Yada yada yada. Let's get into business. Today's prompt is decor, and I decided I was going to bust out this terrarium die that I got a while back because I only used it once. So we must use it twice and at least, you know, come to that. But I wanted to do like a specimen in a jar kind of deal, so I thought this bell jar was like a perfect thing for that. But I also wanted to sort of play into the idea of like the witch's balls that you would hang around your house for protection and things like that. But instead of going with a traditional ball shape, I went with these like more diamond terrarium type shapes because I thought that they were just fun and dynamic shapes for that idea in general. And then I want to play around with what we put in there later. And then I also wanted to continue sort of the cutout motif of this particular page by carrying that over into the tag by cutting out this circle piece and using that for the tag. So I hope that you guys have been enjoying this so far. I have really, really loved this challenge. It's been really fun. I definitely love how much I'm getting to do on each of these little pages to tell a little story. So I was trying to envision what would be in our witch's house, and I think she just has a lot of things that she collects. Like in addition to keeping the photos and the spells and things from her ancestors, she's saving magical items that she finds over time. And like this would just be like another one of those things that she has picked up over time, things that she has saved, stuff that she has found, you know, in whatever ancestor's house, or, you know, antique, what's it called, that market when people die, estate sale. That's such a weird way to put it. Like some stuff that she may have picked up from particularly witchy estate sales. So for the back of this, all I did was ink everything up, and then I just used a white pen to like draw on the little strings to like sort of show you that it's hanging from the ceiling, so it is like a decorative piece. And I added a little bow on the back so that, you know, it's like tied together, so it looks a little bit more hand constructed than just sort of some strange ornaments hanging from nowhere. And then, of course, going back to ink up everything in the front and applying some of that two-way glue so that I can stick down some acetate. And then I wanted this to be not just like a bell jar that you keep specimens in, but a very witchy one. So I have this triquetra like stamp that I never use. It was a gift, but I keep meaning to use it. I just haven't really used it very much. And then I'm going to emboss it up, and then this is where my embossing pen will fail me, which is okay because I've been really abusive to it, so I was expecting it to fail at any time. Gonna have to get a new one of those. But I ended up just using a paintbrush and some of the embossing liquid in my little embossing dauber, which is probably more than I needed for this particular project. And you'll see where that lends itself to some issues later on down the road, but it's not a big deal. It works out. But I just painted in the spaces I needed, and then I'm going to emboss those up. And I wanted to get 2 different color combinations in here. So I'm using black, and then I have an aged silver embossing enamel from Stampendous. So having an excess amount of embossing ink on this works very well because embossing enamel is actually thicker than embossing powder, and can be a little bit cantankerous and fly off your page if you like hit it with the heat tool directly. But it held a lot more of the embossing enamel, but also because there was extra embossing ink on here, it made the embossing powders and everything very fluid, so they ended up sort of flowing into each other. But it's okay. I think it works for the whole interconnectivity of the symbol and how things are connected together. But you can see I'm embossing it from the bottom so that those big chunks don't fly off, and then once they start to melt, I will go back over the top and emboss them. And then I'm just going to take a craft knife and cut out all the negative space, and then eventually cut out the piece entirely so that I can use it as like a die cut. Forgot entirely what I was going to say there. But yeah, it's a little bit fuzzy, but definitely worth it. I really love the effect. It looks like this old like pendant she may have picked up at some market here or there and just added it to this jar as a little embellishment, a little touch to go with the little like maybe old familiar in here. I will say there is a content warning for you guys if you are not into animal specimens. There is going to be an animal specimen of a bat, so if that's not for you, maybe skip off the last half of this video. But otherwise, I like the idea of this little bat being like a former familiar that she now keeps respectfully in this little jar, so she can honor their memory and the time that they were together. And maybe this this little like bit of symbolism is added to it to show their connection to each other, and how they'll meet each other in the great beyond. That's just where my mind went. I don't know why. But that's where we're at. And then I'm just going to go around with a marker and ink up the edges so that, you know, it looks like a very nice clean piece and doesn't have a bunch of strange white edges that would sort of take away from all the work we did with the embossing enamel. And then, apparently this took me a century. There we go. So then I'm going to fussy cut out this little bat. This was a little bit fiddlier than I would have preferred, but it still worked out. It wasn't too bad. But this is actually from the Halloween ephemera set I just dropped on Patreon not that long ago for the Kraken tier. And I think it's one of those purchasable posts, so if you want to just get the post, you can get the post to get the ephemera set. I don't know when I'm going to put it in my Etsy store, probably sometime in October, so if you want to get it now, it came with like a bunch of sheets. It's really cool. It has lots of cool stuff. They're not all bat specimens, but there are some bat specimens in there for the use, and these ones are really cool, so I definitely like this. I think it's going to look really great in the little jar, and that's all the cross promotion I am doing for now. But check out my Patreon though, seriously. So, at any rate, once everything is fussy cut out, we're going to ink around this guy, and then, you know, just make sure that we get all those edges. So again, we have very clean lines, and then he has nice shading as well. I think this is really cool. I just really like how this page came out. I think it's, like, very visually appealing to me to have this little guy, and then I'm going to use one of those photographs as the background piece, and it's, like, got all these cool, like, leafy details. Oh, I forgot. I have to stick down the acetate so that we have our window. I ended up using a lot of acetate for this project, which is fine. I have a bunch, so like that's not a big deal whatsoever. I was just surprised at how much I was like, and then this needs acetate the entire time I was doing this. So like, you know, that was fun. Well, look how nice he fits in there. He looks great. And then I realized that this was going to be a bit tricky because I couldn't think of a smart way to like stick him down and stick him in here. And I'm sorry, for like 30 seconds this is going to be blurry because for whatever reason my camera just didn't like to focus. But yeah, there's this like black and white leafy image in the background. That's what I'm using to hold our guy down to be the background for our bat, and then I stick it all together and managed to get everybody centered and where they wanted to go. But then I decided that this gold was too gold and didn't really work really well with our like multicolored triquetra symbol, and I can't say that word, you guys, so bear with me. But like then I was able to like add a little marker to mark it in, so like the details on the die are now filled in with black, and I think it looks like a little bit more cohesive. And now we have our symbol in there and our little snippet. And then I have to open up the other side so I can have our pocket element, which I opened up this one really sloppily, so I just trimmed off the excess. And then I have these weird little bits of ephemera things that I got ages and ages ago from like AliExpress, and some of them are stickers and some of them are paper. I don't know. I haven't used them ever, so I was like, okay, let's use these up. They have some cool like witchy motifs in here. So I was thinking of other stuff that she would keep in these witches balls, and maybe it's you know, all the familiars that she has known in her lifetime, just all sort of being honored here, and like their memory being there. And I thought that would be really cool. And then I'm going to use another one of those little witchcraft words to tie everything in together, and it takes me a second to figure out exactly what I want to do, but I came up with some stuff. I managed to pull some of these small little pieces out and get some more stuff that she might have lying around her house, like some dried flowers and some witchy paperwork, maybe a butterfly specimen or two, a little moth specimen, so I thought that would work out really well. So I just layered those together, and that's what our witch has in her house. That's her decor, and I think that works. But I also just kind of like the idea that she has that kind of stuff for whatchamadoodle, for all of the familiars that have gone before. So I added a little witch's familiar tag up there to sort of tie that together, and then we're going to glue it down to the envelope. And then again, being very careful to not glue the sides together, because one side needs to be a pocket and the other side needs to be open until we put our journal together. And then I'm just trimming off that funky bit from where I cut it really funky and re-inking it so it doesn't look crazy. And then we're going to build our tag to go in here eventually once I get done inking everything. There was so much ink. I think every day my fingers were black doing this. And that's fine. I love getting messy to make my art, so it definitely worked. Alright, I have this extra crunchy like coffee dyed paper that I'm going to use as the backing for the tag. And for whatever reason, it did not want to take the glue at all, but we managed to make it work in the end. Which you think it would be a lot easier because it's just paper to paper, but it was really fighting me on that. But it's a great color. I love it. I love that. That's like that crunchy last little paper that's like on the bottom of the cookie sheet. Like that's the page here. And then I added the crystals because of course every witch in her house has crystals. You got it. It's like a rule. And then I was trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to add more lace because my original intention was to use a bunch of lace in this project, and I did not use nearly a fraction of the lace I wanted to use. So then I started going through trying to figure out what exactly was the vibe of the lace, and I decided I wanted a really rough cut edge of lace. And you can see I really struggled trying to think of what I wanted to do here and playing around with that, but I eventually came to a conclusion. I came to a consensus on what I was going to do. And then I decided the corners needed to be rounded. Because. So I think we get everything inked up, and then I will cut away to sew it, and then come back. I think that's what I did. I don't remember. We'll find out together. Oh no, I will attempt to glue this lace down a little bit so I don't have to fight it on the sewing machine. And then I sew it. Yep, that's what I did. So, after that I trim off the little excess. Now you have this really nice little edge. And then, I'm going to glue down that little circular piece so we have a nice little spot to journal on the front, as well as the back. And then I pulled out these stickers from my stash that have these like starry animals, so I could use that to continue the familiar vibe. And then I'm also using another snippet from the Halloween snippets. And as you can see, since we're talking about familiars, the supervisor has made a return. So yeah, that's everything for this page, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this process. Make sure that you come back tomorrow, see what we do for day 6. And that's going to be it for me. I appreciate your faces, guys. I will catch you in the next one. Until then, happy crafting. Bye!